The next kind of global conflict that people have questions about is China and Taiwan. What do you think is going to happen there?
It's hard to say. First of all, let's start with this. China wants Taiwan. They're willing to be patient, but they view it as a rogue state of China. They do not recognize its sovereignty. They do never address it as Taiwan. They view it as like the equivalent of Long Island to New York. They're like, if they want to call themselves Long Island, go for it. You're still New York. You know,
live in Massapequa.
Yeah, exactly. So the Chinese want it bad, and it is a source of sore pride. Because Taiwan is such a middle finger to China, because essentially what happened is after World War II, there were two factions in China that worked together to push out the Japanese and liberate China. Chinese don't get enough credit. They basically liberated themselves on mainland. I mean, granted, the Americans and Australians were distracting the Japanese. They had to divert resources, but they did do all the hard fighting in China. There were two factions that were roughly equivalent. There was the Shanghai Shek forces. I mean, they called themselves like the liberal democracy, but they were all like fascist, militaristic dictator guys. So they weren't necessarily good guys. And then you had the communists on the other side under Mao. And they fought a long, bloody war, and the communists won the war, and they pushed the Shanghai Shek loyalists to flee to Taipei at the time, which is now Taiwan, and establish their government in exile there. So they view themselves basically like the French in Morocco during the Nazi occupation of France. And that's where it ended, because they didn't want a global instance, so they said, okay, we're going to secure power on land, and we're going to go get Taiwan eventually. Taiwan will never amount to anything. These guys are incompetent.